What's up, everybody? I want to tell you about Anchor. If you haven't heard about Anchor by Spotify, it's one of the easiest ways to make a podcast with everything you need all in one place. Let me explain. Anchor has tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. When hosting Anchor on Anchor, you can distribute your podcast on listening platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. And best of all, Anchor is totally free. So download Anchor, the app, or go to anchor.fm to get started. And I'm a veteran, so let's hear some more military cadences. So guys, me and my husband stayed up till 3 in the morning watching A Friend of the Family on Peacock. Let me play a little bit of it for you so you understand the craziness of this true story. This show was so crazy. My husband and I stayed up till 3 in the morning watching this mess. 1 second, let me get the other clip. Thank you.
My name is Jan Broberg. Robert Berchtold kidnapped me when I was 12 and again when I was 14. And with that, my brainwashing began. He was a master manipulator. You had intimate relations with Robert, and your husband, your dad, had intimate relations with Robert. Yep. It's insane. There must be a special place in hell for people that hurt children. Do I really want to do this? I gotta face the demon. This was the torture chamber. And that's the moment that my childhood ended. Somebody help me! I'm here! The same things that happened to me happened to her. It's the first time that she's spoken publicly. We said, this is our secret. How do we make it stop? I'm angry and I'm sad for that little girl. This is the beginning of the journey to healing.
So this show was absolutely wild, and I feel like the only reason me and my husband because I can't even normally ever get my husband to watch these shows, but the fact that we were just so, because it was a real story, we couldn't, stop watching it, because it was like at any moment these people are going to get some sense. In my opinion, it had a lot to do with their church, the Mormon church. And I'm not just blaming them. I think a lot of people, when it comes to religion, they use that as a reason to be able to behave badly. Like, oh, you're forgiven. And they can manipulate you. I mean, you hate to say it, but a lot of people that are overly religious are very naive, and they can pretty much believe anything. I mean, this man, I'm going to read you, and this is from a Time article. It was 2:30 on a beautiful day, sitting on my porch surrounded by rose bushes newly in bloom. I'm setting up a night exam when the receptionist on the other end blurts out, "You're Jan Broberg, the new series?" I reply, "Yes, that's me, a friend of the family." So, do you remember you came to my high school English class over 20 years ago and told your story? I was 15, being abused by a beloved family member. You saved my life. I went home that day and I told my mother I was terrified. I'm now married with 2 beautiful children. Thank you. Stunned, I stammered something about how much I appreciated knowing that I helped her be brave enough to tell someone. How thriving in her life was a day-by-day miracle, and she had created it by standing up for her own healing. I thought she was. We promised to hug each other when I came to the office for my now scheduled eye appointment. Another one of the thousands who have shared their stories with me since I opened up on my own. A Friend in the Family is a show that was on Peacock. She said she was abducted twice, sexually abused by a very close family friend, father of 5, whom we met at church. Over the 3 years before my kidnapping, he manipulated my parents, my siblings, and our community, and groomed me and my entire orbit into trusting him. He was charming and fun, tender-hearted, service-oriented, or so it seemed. He looked like everybody else in my safe, small Idaho town. In the 9-part series, we get to see a dramatized version of how this happened to my family. We focus on the psychology of a master manipulator and how he, she, they, them operated in 1970, and how they are still operating today, grooming and abusing millions of other children's family right now in 22. Unfortunately, this is a cautionary story. The ugly, bitter truth of insidious and pervasive child abuse, 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys, and the grooming tactics used by predators. It's hard to talk about, but my family and I decided to expose every awful detail, every mistake made, every subtle sign missed in order to help even one person. Complete transparency and vulnerability left us exposed to harsh criticism and scrutiny. I now see the bravery and honesty, vulnerability, and commitment it takes to pry open the proverbial can of worms. I don't want to read her whole thing. She does have a Jan Broberg Foundation. Listen, I'm going to give you the long short of it. Like I said, they were in the Mormon church. The guy moved into the neighborhood. He became the friend of the family. They had a small town. Pretty much let the guy, infiltrate their family, taking their kids to, events and spending time with their daughter. And they knew this man had suffered from manic depression. And so they were, I guess, just so... I want to say kind, but it's naive, because as a parent, there's no way I would let a grown man hang with my kid the way they did. But they go so much as to let this man lay in the bed with their daughter and listen to stories about him and his wife's sex life while he laid in the bed with their daughter. And they were okay with that. And then they were so sexually repressed, the Brobergs, Bob and Marianne, to where she said, like, when it came to the sex life, it wasn't that great. And so this guy, B, they called him, he was able to get with the dad first by, like, kind of using church, like, oh, I don't want to sin, but me and my wife's sex life is bad. And then he, the guy was like, well, you need to take it to the Lord. And so, he literally kind of manipulated the dad into saying, well, can you help me out by, helping me relieve some stress, because I don't want to sin. So the dad literally helped the B masturbate. Yeah. And so he kind of had that on him. And then with the mom, she was so sexually frustrated because, in my opinion, the husband is allegedly undercover, because I don't know a straight man that would do that, but maybe it's they in the pronoun era. But the mom ended up hooking up with the dude too. And I almost think the mom was jealous because of how much interest she took in her daughter, that she felt like if I had sex with him, maybe he wouldn't be so interested in my daughter. But he was just using them to get to the daughter, which he ended up, like I said, kidnapping her. And then he made her listen to these recordings of Zeta and Zethra, and they were needing her to save their planet. He had this girl convinced that she was half alien and that her dad was an alien, and to never touch boys because she'd be vaporized, and if she didn't complete the mission by having sex with him by the time she's 16, they would come for her sister and all this stuff. And the man, he had this girl so convinced that she ended up, they went to Mexico. He married her in Mexico. The parents, were so forthcoming with this man. They let him know where their birth certificates was. So he snuck in the house and got all that information. And then, the FBI got involved, and they didn't want it to go public because, by now they'd had both had sex with him. Both of the parents had sex with B. And so they didn't want it to go, but they wanted the FBI to find him. The FBI found him. They went on trial. And of course, Marianne, when she finds out her husband had hooked up with him, she goes, of course, back and sleep with the guy. And the guy is like, he's just playing all of them. By the time they go to court, they have so much stuff on the family that they ended up just giving him like a 15 days jail conviction. And then he had to of course, the little girl then snuck out with him again because she felt like she had to complete her mission. He would send the aliens after. He kidnapped her for a while then, and took her to California. I don't know where he was getting all this money from, but his family was involved, and the family wasn't against it, but they felt like they had to help him. The FBI was sick of these people because they told them not to contact them, but of course they all still went to the same church. And the only reason the FBI was able to get involved is because what he was doing, he was giving her these allergy pills, and he was drugging her, and then he hadn't broke her hymen. That's why they couldn't charge him. But what he was doing was, oral sex, masturbation, all these things to the girl. Everything, but rupturing her hymen. And the girl was clearly getting drugged all the time, and she was completely manipulated. This girl was and the family, and I guess back then, pedophile wasn't a word back then. So, this man was working at a family fun center with other children. So I don't even know, what other victims he could have had, because it's between her and where he worked, it's just I don't know, man. And then his wife ended up leaving him, and she was young when she found out. According to this, it says Jan Broberg wasn't the first girl that Robert Berg targeted. Let's see what this article is saying. Says, however, this wasn't the first time B told a young girl this story. He allegedly attempted to lure other children with the same story before Broberg. Additionally, Birchtold pleaded guilty to 1 count of rape and of a child after his kidnapping of Broberg. The church that the Brobergs and Birchtolds attended, the Jesus Christ the Latter-day Saint LDS, plays a significant role in their lives. The series, produced by Nick and Toscan, Jan Broberg, shows the family praying together each night and attending church every Sunday. However, at least in the first episodes, it doesn't delve into the massive role that the church played. According to Forbes, Birchtold attempted to have sexual relationships with at least 6 other young girls before Jan Broberg. In 1974, the LDS Church reprimanded him, but he remained a part of the religious community. The church never warned the other parishioners that he might be a threat to the children. Some of the Birchtold's alleged victims reached out to Jan Broberg and Sky Borgman and her family, and the alleged victims reached out to her. At the time, the director debated whether the alien portion of the story was true or a coping mechanism for young Jan. However, after speaking with other women, there was no doubt in her mind that Birchtold did the same thing to them with the alien story. Then, while we were working on a film, one of the Birchtold's other alleged victims reached out to us and told us a story about him using this alien psychology and saying, "You're a princess from a different planet." He used this whole alien story on her, and that was the moment for me when I thought, oh my gosh, this is real. None of the alleged victims wanted to recount their experiences with Birchtold for the documentary. However, many have also reached out to Jan since she began sharing her story. Birchtold victimized at least one other girl after Broberg. After Robert Birchtold's second kidnapping of Jan, he spent 19 days in jail and 5 months in a medical facility for mental health. Then in 1986, a court charged him with 2 counts of rape of a child in Salt Lake City, Utah. He pled guilty to 1 count and served only 1 year in prison. The accounts of these women may not be the only ones who fell victim to Robert Birchtold before and after Jan Broberg's horrific experiences. The church, man, they did not at all, tell these people. They just, like they said, reprimanded him. He was still able to attend services, and I just think that's crazy. I just think that's so crazy how these people, and his wife, she divorced him and took her kids and moved. He had 5 children: Jerry, James, Joseph, Jeff, and Jill. They're all still living in Utah. I don't know, man. It was just so crazy. Like I said, we stayed up till 3 a.m. watching this. It's on Peacock. My condolences to all the victims out. They're saying that the ex-wife of him, Gail Birchtold, she has not appeared or participated in any public discussions about the case or what she experienced in her marriage with her ex-husband, who died by suicide in 2005. Gail stayed with Robert after the first kidnapping, but they divorced soon after. By the second kidnapping, she had filed for divorce. She divorced him and took her kids and moved. Broberg also shares that producers reached out to Berchtold to discuss. She believed if she was manipulated by her ex, that she was complicit, but she never responded. The show implicates she knew the man had issues. And she had even told him when the girl was first missing, like, sometimes he gets depressed and manic. And like I said, this family knew that too. And I don't know if people just think because people go to church that they're okay, but no, they're not. Like, when are y'all gonna learn? Most of the people that are coming to church got issues. Broberg revealed that she never directly reached out to her. No word on how many years have gone by. And, you imagine how awful it might be to discover that this is your dad. I mean, it's pretty tough. I feel bad for all the kids. Despite the outcome of her marriage, Gail did remarry. She tied the knot to a Marine in 1988. They settled in Utah, where she still lives today. The couple remained married for 27 years until her husband died of bladder cancer in 2015. In the series, Gail, the wife of Robert, pleaded with them not to call the police after her husband Jan disappeared. Robert's father, Bob, revealed that he engaged in a singular sexual encounter with Berchtold, one that Gail reportedly used to blackmail him into signing an affidavit asking the FBI to drop the charges after Jan was returned. Jan's mother also had a long-term sexual affair with Berchtold between Jan's abductions. Both parents ultimately signed a contract, but Jan told Entertainment Tonight there was something that the documentary left out. They didn't forgive him. She said the affidavits they signed they retracted 4 days later. That's not a documentary. Leo Tipton, who uses the pronoun stars as Gail in new Peacock series and opened up Hollywood Life about their perception of Gail's involvement. Leo said they were surprised with how easy it is to vilify Gail, his wife. According to Leo, I did not see that going into it. Immediately saw someone who was groomed. I immediately saw someone who was an unknown victim in the situation. For Leo, Gail is the actress playing Robert's wife. Robert's relationship was uncomfortable. The actor continued. It almost doesn't make sense because he switches who he is for everyone. Through this time, Gail was basically trying to hold back a car from going off a cliff desperately, and B sitting there jumping the road. If I did not know that this was true, I promise you, I would have not stayed up that long and freaking watch this ridiculous show. I mean, it is very sad that some people are this naive, and it just makes me just feel crazy because I'm just like, what else is going on in the church that we don't know about? And I'm not just talking about the Mormon church, the Scientology church. You got Leah Remini on Twitter going on about the Scientologists and everything that is happening there. She did a whole thread. She said, I'm incredibly concerned for the health and safety of Hossein Ronagi, an Iranian blogger and activist who the Islamic Republic has unjustly imprisoned. Hossein urgently needs care, and he's being denied it. I know many of you consumed by the midterm elections and news and know your own lives, but we must keep the attention of the people in Iran. So this is her talking about Iran. Then she goes on about Scientology, the policy enabled for years of child abuse and sex abuse. She also is looking for Shelley Miscave and Barbara Ruiz, who have disappeared. She says that they have, the last time she saw Shelley was at Tom Cruise's wedding, and they haven't seen her in over 15 years. Leah is still on her crusade, her Where is Shelley crusade. The LAPD has been forced to put out statements to condemn Leah Remini's lies. This is by definition of hate speech. We've asked for Leah Remini to be prosecuted, but Leah is not stopping. She says Scientology and David Miscave have no problem forcing hundreds of top Scientologists to go on camera to tell scripted lies about other whistleblowers and me. One person he hasn't put on camera is Shelley Miscave, telling where is Shelley. She says, meet Corey Palka, a 34-year-old vet, LAPD, and longtime captain of Hollywood Division. Corey was in charge of the division where I filed my missing persons report of the disappearance of Shelley Misgave. Here, Corey accepts a check from Scientology for an LAPD charity, and that check was for $20,000. Here's where things get interesting. Corey is now being investigated for providing confidential investigative information to top CBS executives, which begs the question, what investigative information has been provided to Scientology over the year? In 2013, after I left Scientology, I filed a missing report with the LAPD for Shelley. By the time I filed the report, it had been nearly 8 years since I had seen or heard from Shelley. At Tom Cruise's wedding to Katie Holmes in 2006, I was shocked when Shelley wasn't with her husband, David. Tom's wedding was dubbed the wedding of the century in Scientology. It was the most critical event for top Scientologists. Shelley was always with her husband. She was his shadow, not only because she was married to him, but also because she was his top aide. For her not to be in attendance was not only unusual, it was unimaginable. When I asked where Shelley was, Tommy Davis and Tom Cruise David Hinchman told me, you don't have the effing rank to ask about Shelley. I was subjected to months of cruel interrogations and reprogramming for the high crime of asking where Shelley was. My letters to Shelley had all gone unanswered. I couldn't reach her by phone either. So when I left Scientology, my first goal was to try and find Shelley. I filed a missing persons report through a friend I knew at the LAPD. 9 hours after I filed the missing persons report, the case was closed, and the LAPD announced to the press that they had found Shelley. News was released first to the press, not me, who filed the report. I learned about all this from the media, not the LAPD. When I asked the detectives had they spoken to Shelley, I was told that was classified by the LAPD. I was told to file a public record request if I wanted further information. I spent $50,000 in attorney fees filing various requests. My requests for information for the LAPD were shut down. I didn't know anything about the circumstances of this investigation. Scientology has always done a great job of integrating itself with law enforcement despite being experts in obstructing justice. Scientology hires off-duty LAPD cops as security and donates to LAPD charities, all the while instructing their members to never help with any of the criminal investigations involving Scientologists and making it a high crime in Scientology to be Scientologists to law enforcement. When I met the Corey Polka about Shelley, he had a letter on his desk thanking him for his help with the Scientology Matters, inviting him to come have lunch as a guest at the Celebrity Center. I was so alarmed by Corey's closeness with Scientology, I've even offered to personally double any donations they made to LAPD if he wouldn't accept donations for him. Corey was incredibly dismissive. Take a long look at these emails obtained by Tony Ortega that Corey exchanged with Scientology officials. Look how helpful Corey is to Scientology. Look how friendly their relationship is. Corey even assigned a particular detective who could personally handle Scientology complaints. He also agreed to help introduce them to the Detroit of police. LAPD Lieutenant Andre Dawson, the detective in the charge of missing persons report in Shelley Misgave, also has a cozy relationship with Scientology. Here he is speaking at Scientology Celebrity Center at the event about human trafficking. You can't make it up. Corey Polka also allowed Scientology to set up informational kiosks at the LAPD Hollywood division. Here's what it looks like. Luckily, it was quickly taken down. An investigation must be opened up into Corey's relationship with Scientology and the LAPD's interactions with Scientology overall. The LAPD must not attend Scientology events anymore or accept their funds. Where is Shelley? It's really crazy. I mean, if you really think, I did a whole podcast about that 70s show actor and him being involved and how the victims were a part of the Church of Scientology with Danny Masterson and how they intimidated those people. So, like I said, it's not just Mormons, it's these churches, especially those higher churches, they are very, powerful, dude. And if you don't know what Scientology means, it's a religion in its highest meaning as it helps bring man to total freedom and truth. The essentials of Scientology are these. And it's so scary you don't even want to go to the website. Yeah, I don't want to go. But here's the thing. Here's the people that are in Scientology that are actors. Michelle Stafford, Ethan Suplee, John Travolta, Greta Van Susteren. I'm messing that name up. I mean, it's so many. Kirstie Alley, not shocking. Ann Archer, Emily Armstrong, James Barber, Lindsay Bartleson, Catherine Bale, David Campbell, Nancy Cartwright, Tom Cruise, of course. I mean, the list goes on. It's a very long list. Dougie Fresh. Oh no, not Dougie Fresh. This is scary. It is a lot, dude. I'm just going down the list of these people and what the whole thing is, like what it means. The church is in Clearwater, Florida. That's where the headquarters are. And Scientology is a set of beliefs and practices invented by Arthur L. Ron Hubbard and an associated movement. It has been variously defined as a cult, a business, or a new religious movement. The most published census data indicates that there are 25,000 followers in the United States in 2008, around 2,300 in England, 1,380 in Canada, and about 1,600 in Australia. Hubbard initially developed a set of ideas that he called Dianetics, where he represented as a form of therapy. This he promoted through various publications as well as through the Hubbard Dianetic Research Foundation that he established in 1950. The foundation went bankrupt and Hubbard lost the rights to his book Dianetics in 1952. Then he characterized the subject as religion and renamed it Scientology, retaining the terminology, doctrines, and practice of auditing. By 1945, he had 54. He regained the rights of Dianetics and retained both subjects. It teaches that a human man is an immortal being that resides in a physical body and has an innumerable past lives. Some Scientology texts are revealed that after followers have spent more than $200,000 in the organization, and it charges tens of thousands of dollars for access to these texts and what it calls operating on daytime levels. The organization has gone considerable lengths to try to keep these secret, but they are freely available on the internet. These texts say that lives preceding Thetan's arrival on Earth were lived in extraterrestrial cultures. The Scientology doctrine states that Scientologists undergoing auditing will eventually come across and recount a common series of events. They include reference to extraterrestrial life form called Xenu. It's XENU. The secret Scientology sects say that was a ruler of confederation of planets 70 million years ago who brought billions of aliens beings to Earth and then killed with thermonuclear weapons despite being kept secret from the followers. This form a central mythological framework of Scientology's status referred to as clear. These aspects have become the subject of popular ridicule. Listen, most people think we're aliens. Look at what just happened to the girl. Like I said, believe whatever you want. Don't give your children away to perverts, even if it's in the name of your ruler. It's just not smart. Wouldn't the ruler come to yourself and not be on a recording, and you wouldn't have to pay money? Like, it's just like, I just don't even know. Sometimes people scare me. People literally scare me. And that's why religion is a scary thing. And if you don't stay true to who you are and know thyself, then you will be lost in the sauce, man. And I'm not saying no belief is right or wrong, but when it's committing crimes where it be murder or sexual abuse, it's not good. I'm sorry. That is all. I feel like I should have some alien recording on this, but who knows? You guys stay safe out there and know thyself. Don't let people fill your heads with stuff. It's kind of crazy. All right, F is for Family is signing out.